Hey everybody, welcome to the Nevermind podcast. This is Laureline for the third time. We are testing some new looks. Hope you guys like it. Let us know what you think. We changed the logo a little bit. Changed the overlays, and yeah,
I've been busy.
she literally stayed up all night last night
I
to do it.
literally did.
While King Cord was snoozing away because he couldn't stay awake.
Yeah. Blacker.
She stayed up all night.
I did. And then all the way up until pretty much live, I was also still working on it. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then this morning, you showed me it, and I was like, I like the the font.
That's how it goes with any graphic design, though, is that I did one thing, and then you decided that you liked something a little different. So with any graphic design, you have to be open to compromise and change what you did.
Right.
I did something that I was pretty proud of, but I didn't change a whole lot. And then once I started talking to Cord about it more, then there was quite a bit more that we ended up changing. So hopefully you like it.
Yeah, hopefully you like
Let
it.
us know.
Hopefully you can see what my idea was with this new logo. Trying to make it look like a compass more than just an arrow.
Because we have no idea where we're going with our shows.
Exactly.
So we definitely need a compass.
That's exactly what I was going through. That's what I was trying to convey. So, anyways.
We get off topic. We go in a number of different directions. Yeah,
like even right off the bat.
Like now.
As soon as we just started this episode.
Yeah.
So we're going to be talking a little bit. I think it's called getting personal, but I think, like I said before in past episodes, we have to be transparent in order to get a following. Mm-hmm. And we have to be completely truthful with the viewers. So
yeah.
I think we should just I want to talk about how things of late with our child and the school and everything, and our problems with it, and just kind of like get it off my chest. I know I kind of get mad a little bit angry, so
you might get a little.
I might get a little heated.
Yeah.
But I want you guys to know.
Might get a little heated on that.
I want you guys to know it's not your fault.
It's not, and it's not towards viewers or anything, and it's not even directly towards the entire school. It's just based off of our situation and what we've gone through.
Yeah.
These are our own opinions and our own views.
But and then we're also just gonna cut a couple headlines. Just kind of they all kind of tie in. Oddly enough, that we got something where things tie in and kind of have like some kind of a mental health kind of thing. So
yeah.
So please stay and listen to our boring stories. And
you're really doing a great job of selling the podcast right now.
I know, right? Well, we got the one viewer. I can see the one viewer, and I'm pretty sure that's you.
Me. Yeah.
So let's just get into it. Our first topic, Laureline, read it off for us.
Well, the first thing was just our personal experiences is what I thought we could start with.
We're just going to go right into it. Okay. So, I'm pretty sure I've explained it on the podcast, but I grew up, I have ADD and ADHD. I was diagnosed with it when I was very young, and it was during the epidemic of when teachers would tell their parents that you need to go get your kid on Ritalin because I don't know how to handle them, and I'm not gonna deal with it, so I'd rather have your kid drooling and completely out of it than running amok in my classroom.
Yeah.
And a lot of kids were misdiagnosed because a lot of parents were just bringing in their kids, and the doctor's like, I can't say no to this parent because the parent's saying that the school is having a problem with them. And so the best thing that we can do is just, throw out those scripts, put them on Ritalin, and get them drooling. And I was one of them. My brother was one of them. I haven't gone back and rechecked to see if I actually have ADD or ADHD. I've been told that I have a lot of characteristics of somebody who has them, where I can't finish something, I'm off to the next thing. I can't stop obsessing over something. I always have to buy something new, and then as soon as I get it, like after a week later, it's boring to me, and I gotta get something else that's new. And I admit I have these things. So, but I never went back and tried to get on Adderall or whatever it is that the kids are getting on these days, because I feel like I have a pretty good handle on it. So, hey, Mr. Nevermind.
Hey.
So yeah, I never went back and did it. A lot of friends tell me, "Oh yeah, you should, like, because you feel good and you feel focused." And I don't want to be put on a drug where I have to take every day just so I can focus. So that's just my opinion. I could be wrong. You could disagree with me. That's totally up to you. I give you that right.
Yeah, everyone's got their own opinion. Everyone's got their own experiences.
So naturally, our son has they changed it now. I guess now ADD doesn't exist. It's now a form of autism, which also
it's ADD and ADHD. They all consider one and the same. They don't diagnose ADD as a separate disorder.
But they just label it as ADHD.
It's all ADHD. Same with, for example, kids that are autistic. It used to be that they would have dedicated, or that they would call it either autism or Asperger's, which Asperger's is a mild form of autism, and it was causing a lot of confusion where people didn't understand that it was a form of autism. So they went ahead and, I say they, I don't know who's in charge of all of that, but
the man is
the man decided to reclassify it and no longer diagnose as Asperger's or call it Asperger's. They now just consider it all part of the autism spectrum. So
I haven't made you run. You just made me run over a mile to get a Wi-Fi free zone.
I'm assuming so that he can get Wi-Fi, so he doesn't have to use data to watch us.
So you're sitting at like McDonald's or something. Anyways, so my son has ADHD, and he's also on the autistic spectrum, which he would
have if it was still the former classification system, it would be considered Asperger's, yes, which is a mild form. He's still verbal. He's active.
To me, he looks like he's a normal kid. He
is normal. You gotta be careful with that word. He is normal.
He looks and functions really well as like a kid who you would assume would not have it, unless you start getting into situations where he needs to process emotions, process facial expressions. He needs to be focused and learn how to burn his energy. He needs to learn how to those kind of things, and like volume and stuff. Like he can't talk at like a good volume. It's either really loud or he's really shy and like contained, and so it's it's either rabbit or turtle. And so that's basically his diagnosis. And so when we got into school, I was afraid that he was going to be labeled, because when I was in school, I was labeled, and I wasn't labeled as the bad kid who has ADD and ADHD. That was my brother. I was just the kid who was like, this kid needs to focus more, and he's got a learning disability. So they put me in like the special computer lab to do special computer programs, or they'd send me to the nurse every day before lunch to get a pill, and I would have to see special people at certain times of the week or whatever. And because I was labeled, it was very hard. Because
Michael says Mr. Nevermind says it's your dad's fault.
It is my dad's fault. Anyway,
the joke is that King Cord and Mr. Nevermind and King Cord's dad all work together.
Yeah,
so
we all work at the post
that's
office.
the joke. So just to fill you guys in, that's why he's saying it's all Dad's fault.
So anyways, I was labeled, and because I was labeled for it, I ran into teachers who, instead of just figuring out my personality and establishing some sort of a relationship with me, they just go, "Whoa, this kid's special needs," and they just try to push me off as much as they could. And then my fellow students, my friends, my peers, whatever you want to call them, they would also make fun of me because I would have to stray away from what they would do normally. They would stay in the classroom all day and they'd go to lunch at the same time and have a recess at the same time. I didn't. I had a different day. And so I didn't want that for Caleb. And when we went into school, I made that clear right off the bat. I said, I don't want him to be labeled. I don't want him to face teachers who just want to push him along and not deal with him. I don't want him to experience bullying and all that shit in school.
And so then because of that, because of the fear of him being labeled, because of the fear of the things that could do to him, or the label and all of that, we chose initially not to inform the school of his
I
conditions.
chose initially I didn't want to inform the school. You were against the idea because you wanted to get help right away.
Correct.
And so I said, let's just throw him in it. Maybe, he's got enough material to pass, like maybe he can behave enough or like blend in enough to where he can pass. And obviously they figured it out right away. They contacted us and asked us if he has something, to which Julie said, yes, he's got this and this. We had him diagnosed a week before school because preschool had told us and daycare had told us. And
yeah, we had quite a few issues before he even got into elementary school. We had quite a few issues with daycare centers and daycare providers not understanding the needs of him. Like, all they knew is he was very high energy. He liked to make noise, and he always would run around, and there was sometimes he was even just flat out defiant of things. So based on all of those things, that led us to the conclusion that we needed to see somebody. Once we had that diagnosis, a lot of the stuff started making more sense.
Well, we got the diagnosis because we were like, okay, so we need to find people who can help us so we can get through to him. He can understand us. Yeah. We also were like, I was always against doing medication because I didn't want to do the whole...
We didn't want to turn him into a zombie.
I didn't want to turn him into a zombie, and I didn't want to have to pull him out of class every day to go take a pill because, one, the other kids start noticing it, and then there was, where are you going, or why do you have to take a pill, or whatever, Yeah.
It starts out as curiosity initially, and then when those other kids figure out what's going on or figure out that that person's different in some way, that they get those things, and they can start turning mean really quickly.
Mr. Nevermind says he went to special classes, but he never felt like he was different. And that I didn't feel like I was different from the other kids. To me, it felt like I was like an unfortunate person who had to go do this. Like, they just picked some random kid, other than the whole pill thing, because that was my parents, and my parents were like, "You're gonna be an angel in school. I'm not gonna get a bad phone call again."
Like it was a magic pill. Like it was like,
and for a lot of people, it was.
Take this and you're great.
For a lot of people, it was, but it was just like people couldn't tell back then if it was just a normal kid being, doing normal. Kids do shit. Kids get loud. Kids, refuse shit all the time.
Yeah.
And for some reason, we just got into a kink where people thought, oh no, my kid's refusing this and being loud. I gotta put him on a pill. So I just put it in front of him and he just does it. And so, anyways, so Caleb got into school and kindergarten, it was a little bumpy, but it wasn't terrible. And it was still kind of like feeling the water and seeing where it goes.
Yeah, a lot of it is figuring out, one, how the teacher's going to be, how is the teacher going to handle everything?
Yeah, how is public school going to handle it?
How is our son going to react to being in school and being required to
having a structured
exactly
with a bunch of other kids. And I really hate the fix-it pill. Yeah, me too. And so second grade was a little bumpy. First grade was great.
First grade or kindergarten was a little bumpy.
First grade was great because we got a teacher, and I wouldn't go as far as saying that she was specially trained or was licensed or anything, but I will say that she had enough compassion, she had enough patience, and she had enough puzzle problem solving skills to know I should actually sit down and work with this kid. I know that this kid is struggling. I know it's hard for him. I need to figure out what helps him and keeping him in school. And I will admit, at the first beginning of first grade, it was just sending him to the office. But then after she realized that that's not doing anything but frustrating the parents, and all it's doing is throwing him out of the classroom all the time, she then figured it out. And so I honestly, I don't know if I can say her name or anything, but I
wouldn't say her name.
If she ever comes across my podcast, which is very doubtful because nobody knows anything about my podcast, I would say that's how you do it. If you're not trained, if you're not licensed or anything, that's how you do it. You sit down and you go, okay, well, I need to know what I can do within my limitations, and I need to help. And she did a tremendous job. I'm sorry, I keep cutting you off.
No, you're fine. You basically just she did the right thing by identifying the fact that there was a problem with how she was handling things, and she took action on that and did whatever she could for the benefit of our son. She didn't stop to think, oh, is this gonna take too much? The other thing is with the kindergarten teacher, and even this year so far with the second grade teacher, a lot of the impression I get is, oh my gosh, this is taking so much time out of my day. I don't need to do all of these extra things for him because I'm already busy enough as it is, which I get is a somewhat valid point. I get that everybody's busy at all times of the day. Kudos to you that are teachers, because I have no idea how you do it. I don't know if I could spend being with that many children in the same room for that many hours a day.
And we both understand that there's other kids like him who are in the other special needs programs who can also be a handful, and she's also got the other ones that she's trying to not disrupt their learning.
Exactly.
So what's wrong with a kid being, does your son's behavior reflect on you?
We'll come back to Mr. Nevermind's questions on that.
So I mean, I understand it. She's got other kids. She can't just focus on ours. But I'm saying the first grade teacher did it great. She figured out how to.
It was a breeze. I mean, he didn't have perfect days. As soon as she figured out,
this is what I need to do with him, it was great. And he stayed in the classroom. He learned. He had a special area in the classroom where if he recognized that he was getting upset, she'd let him go sit under a table on the other side of the classroom. And it even
got to the point where he was able to self-identify those emotions that he was feeling, and he could tell he was getting worked up, and so he would take himself to that spot. There was a little bit at the end of the year in kindergarten that he did those things too, but especially in first grade. Another thing when he was in first grade is sometimes there's just that connection, you feel like you're on the same level with people when you talk to them or interact with them. I kind of think that our son had that with the teacher, where in first grade, they communicated on the same wavelength. One could say something and the other one knew exactly what they were talking about. They didn't have to clarify or push it and ask any more questions or whatever. They knew. They got it. They got each other. They had, the other thing I think is big is the whole mutual respect and mutual understanding.
Well, there was a relationship.
Exactly.
It wasn't just you're my teacher, I'm the student, you're my boss or whatever. It was hey buddy, let's calm down, or hey buddy, let's work on this or focus on this a little bit more, and then you can go do that. And she understood almost his thinking process too, because she knew that if this was gonna overwhelm him, that she needed to break it down, or
like, for example, when they had, sorry to interrupt you, but for example, like when they would have a fire drill coming up, a lot of times that would scare our son because of the loud noise and because it's a surprise. So they would take the time, even like a day or two beforehand, just to say, okay, here's what's coming up, here's what we're going to do, and sit down and process all of this. And by process, I mean he responds really well to sitting down and drawing everything out and going step by step through everything. So she would take the time to go through and process with all of those things. So when that incident would come up, he knew exactly what to do, and he responded appropriately like any other kid would. Which I think is how that should be done. Now,
I think so too, but the problem, first grade was great, but then we get into second grade. And second grade, it seemed like we got onto a good foot with second grade. It felt like from first grade we figured everything out, and that we were just gonna keep going and breeze through school, right? Like we figured out our hardships, we figured out what buttons we need to press, what buttons we don't press. But then all of a sudden, like, things would happen. My son would come home and he would say things like, so and so called me this, or so and so made fun of my shirt because I wore a pink shirt today, or there's a girl in my class who makes fun of me for eating salad every day. There's times where he would come home from the gym class and he'd say that the gym teacher wasn't, I wouldn't say mean, but wasn't there to help him or protect him or stop the other kids from doing other shit. And so it got very frustrating because there was one time where my son, they were on scooters and he had an accident apparently, and he ran into the cinder block gym wall, hit his head on the wall, and everyone in the class apparently just stood there and laughed at him, and the teacher just stood there and watched him too. And then he started crying, and then the teacher goes, "What's wrong?" He says, everyone laughs at me when I get hurt. So then the gym teacher, being an airheaded whatever, in place curse word here, goes to the office and then tells them that Julian and I must be harming our child because he's making claims like this. And so then we get this whole shit where they're sending us information through emails and everything about if you are having troubles with your child at home,
we've got plenty of resources.
Yeah, resources and counselors and stuff. And we're like, I don't understand why you would come to this conclusion. We want a meeting. And so then we have this like period where they keep us on the line. And then they come back and they say, well, we're going to do a meeting, but it can only be on a Thursday, and it can only be after school when all of his resource teachers, language specialists, and some other counselor is there. That's the only time they can be there on a Thursday after school, and we can't get anything till after the holidays. And so now you're starting to see our frustration because we're now sitting here going, you guys think we're harming our kid. You guys are not understanding our kid. Well, then come to find out, we start hearing more and more things that are going on in school from our son, but also from some of the other teachers, like through the emails and stuff. And basically what we found out is that this program we have him in is completely pointless. They have a language specialist and what other kind of counselor or whatever?
They have a number of different people involved. It's upwards of like 6 to 8 different individuals.
Everyone but the home teacher and the resource teacher only sees him once a month. And so we're sitting here going, we can tell you just from personal experience, a conversation doesn't really it doesn't really stick in his head. I'm sorry to say. You can have the same conversation days, and he takes pieces and pieces of it, but it doesn't stick to him. And now you're telling me that for what I would say is maybe an hour a month, you guys see him. So basically you're telling me you guys are non-existent because he doesn't absorb anything you guys tell him or anything. So the only thing I'm getting out of this is that you guys are just data collectors and you're not collecting a whole lot of data. And so I'm kind of puzzled why these people are here. And then I find out that these people they go from school to school in the city. They're not in the school. So I'm like, what is the point of this? You know, you guys, I get it. You have several kids to see, but there's no point in you seeing those kids. If I know these kids like I know my son, nothing you guys say or do with them is really that important. And so it's very frustrating that we can only get a meeting when we have all of them available, which is on a Thursday after school. But anyways, not only that, we find out that his resource teacher, whenever he goes to a separate room, whenever they kick him out into another room, like we'll call it a timeout room, right? So he goes to a timeout room, and this timeout room is labeled room 104, and that's where the resource teacher is at. And we find out that when he gets there, I'm saying "and" a lot. When he gets there, the room is separated into 4 zones?
Different zones. I don't know.
They're color-coded zones, and he goes straight to red zone. And red zone is apparently a padded room with a door that has a window, and they just throw the kid in there. And I get the whole argument. We put the kid in the padded room because we don't want him to harm himself or anyone else. We want him to calm down in a safe environment. But when you tell me you throw him into a padded room, the next thing I think is straitjackets. The next thing I think is you guys are going to get wheelchairs with leather straps and a mask so he can't spit on people either. I mean, this is the school jailhouse is what you're telling me. And the resource teacher is the deputy who has to sit there in the fucking chair, leaned back, like sleeping with his fucking cowboy cap on, just waiting for the fucking inmate to fucking shut up, right? And so I'm like, okay, Caleb, so you just go into this padded room, right? And you go in there until you're settled down, right? He goes, no, I'm in there until they say I'm done. I'm like, well, how long is that? Well,
it depends.
It depends. And so I start looking at the sheets that he brings home, which is supposed to tell me all the good times he has and the bad times and when he goes to 104. And we see that on these sheets, there's times he goes to 104 for half a day. There's times where he's there a whole day. There's times where he's there for 4 hours.
And majority of the time, once he goes there, he doesn't get to go back to the classroom, which presents an issue because then he's missing out on things that everybody else in his class are learning.
And then another thing is the rare chance that he does get the good out of 104. He goes back just for the teacher to go, oh, fuck, he's back, and then throw him back in.
For another reason.
And
like this last week, on Friday, it was, where he had a good day so far, and then I think his regular teacher left, and they had a substitute in the afternoon or something. There was the story that we have been told by our son, so take it with whatever you consider, but they were in the hallway getting ready to go to like their specials class, which is like a computer class or something, or whatever it is on the rotation.
Well, hold on. Let me. Okay, so this was what, Friday, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Friday, Thursday before, he supposedly had a bad day, and he was in 104. So then the next day, Friday, he goes in, and it's test day, and his teacher's there for the first half of the day, and it's test day, and she goes, he had a wonderful morning. He sat through the first test, great, but when it came to the second test, he started to lose interest.
Basically, she said, I could tell he wasn't in the right state of mind to complete this test in the classroom. So they contacted the principal of the school, who then made a safe space in the office for him to finish the test. Which, that's fine if that's what's needed. I don't have a problem with that as long as he can go back to the room.
But
so
they said like, this is my problem is you got an autistic kid, right? Mm-hmm. And I understand they sat down with him first and told him, you're not in trouble, but the autistic kid's still gonna worry. I'm going to the principal's office. I'm going to the office. I'm gonna get in trouble. This isn't gonna look good for mom and dad. And so she contacts the principal. They make a safe space for him. They take him to this place. He still is bored with it. Now, let me tell you something. A 7-year-old alone doing tests back to back for 2 to 3 hours, I can tell you guarantee you that a 7-year-old is going to lose interest with a frickin' test. You got to break that shit up. Mm-hmm. Do one test, do something fun, do a reading time, go to recess, whatever, then come back and do a second test. Mm-hmm. Fucking test after test after test for 2 to 3 hours? No, that's not going to work. But then you throw a little autism in there, of course he's going to lose fucking focus on that shit. So he goes to the office, right? He goes to the safe space, and they say, hey, you're slouching too much. Hey, you're not doing this. You're not giving enough attention to this. And then he comes back to the classroom, right? Mm-hmm. After he does the second, he struggles through the second fucking test.
And then what happened is that's when the normal teacher went home because she had the half the day off. So she went home for the day, and they had the sub come in for the afternoon. I don't know if it was sometimes they have one of the other second grade teachers in their class or in their school come in and help teach. It just depends. Or it could have just been a legitimate sub. Either way, they were lining up in the hallway to go walk to a class, to specials class. And when they were lining up, apparently there was a child that was calling our son a name. Mm-hmm. And although it doesn't seem like it's a bad name to us, but
he was basically calling him a pussy.
So he was
calling him a pussycat, but he was basically calling him a pussy. And all my kid did was, I could probably guarantee you he elevated his voice. And he just said, please do not call me that, right? But instead, it's no jokes. Maybe a little jokes later, but basically he says, do not call me that. And the substitute teacher just decides, oh shit, the special needs kid just fucking raised his voice, throw him to fucking schoolhouse jail.
Yeah, so because he reacted and said, hey, stop that, really loud or whatever, or hey, don't, or I don't know exactly the words he used, but he raised his voice to tell the other kid to stop calling him that name. And because he raised his voice to tell this other kid to stop, instantly, there was no questions asked whatsoever. The teacher that at the time didn't ask our son what was going on, didn't ask the other child what was going on. No, just simply said, okay, our son was the one who raised his voice.
She's like, you're going to the pokey. And then she walked his fucking ass to the red zone. Is that your
attempt at a joke for Coco?
I'm trying. Anyway, she's like, you're going to the pokey. Walked his ass to the school jail, threw him in the red zone, which was the padded room, and locked the fucking key. So he was there for the rest of the goddamn day. They don't lock
the door. Let's just be clear. They don't lock him in there.
They don't lock him in the padded room.
And I will also state that there have been, just for, I can't think of how I want to say it, but just to clear the air about it and be completely transparent, there are times that our son chooses to go into that room on his own because he gets a sensory overload.
But that's how it's supposed to be worked. That's how it's supposed to be used. It's a resource. It's supposed to be for a place where he can go use it as a resource to calm down, to get his thinking straight. It shouldn't be used as a punishment. Agreed. And you shouldn't be using it as the fucking jail. You're throwing these kids in a padded room, and that's the first fucking zone. That's just red zone. You still have blue zone, green zone, up your ass zone. It's fucking fucked there, okay? Like, padded room.
Up your ass is fucking fucked?
Yeah, it's fucking fucked.
Oh.
I don't know what green or blue fucking zone is, but let me tell you something. Thanks, Mr. Nevermind.
Pokey.
He gets in there, and I just imagine the resource teacher got his legs kicked up on the desk, leaning back, trying to get a snooze in, and then after an hour or so, goes in, checks in through the window to make sure there's no blood on the mattresses on the wall.
Well, and so here's the other thing, too, to keep in mind is that, and this is a thing that I think we need to discuss as well, is the amount of adults that we have in school, like the ratio. The ratio that we have between adults and children in the school, especially for children that do have special needs of whatever it may be, in the resource room, there's only a handful of adults. Like, there's his resource teacher. There may be, and I don't know, maybe one or two other resource teachers.
It's a sheriff and two fucking deputies. Assistants.
And that's for the entire school. There's about 100 kids in each class, and you've got kindergarten through 5th grade. So, what, 600-ish kids?
Yeah.
And you're telling me that less than 10 people is enough to handle any of the special needs kids out of 600? I don't think that's enough. And I think that's something that the school needs to be aware of if they're not already, and that they need to change something with that.
And so we had Loreline or Julie's, whoever you want to call her, this personal fucking
whoever
episode.
I am.
Her parents looked into the LPS, which is the Lincoln Public Schools, forms and documents about how they handle autistic children, and we found out that they're supposed to be giving autistic children around an hour and a half. They're supposed to give them 10 minutes to do whatever they want.
It's supposed to be every single hour that they are supposed to be given like a 10-minute period to just either go jump on a mini trampoline or go do something.
Relieve some energy or decompress from whatever feelings they got. And we can tell you that's not what's going on with our kid. And they say they have like a bunch of other things in there about how they're supposed, usually autistic kids get a para, which is a person that's personally, like, basically an assistant for your kid who's always there for your kid. And he doesn't have that. He's got a resource teacher who acts like he's his buddy, but not really. Hold on, let me catch up on blue, green, the armed guards with Nerf guns.
We still have Mr. Nevermind stuff up above to catch up on.
Blue, they just armed green, single movement, beaten with a foam sword. Man, I would be in there every day, come out with marker tats. That'd be hilarious. My kid comes home with, like, fucking the diamond S and shit. Like,
oh my God.
Kids always draw that. Let me go back up. Let's get back up to Mr. Nevermind's. What was it, this one there? I went to special classes, never felt like I was different. I really hate the fix-it pill. What's wrong with a kid being, does your son behavior reflect on you? In first grade, did you have the ability to figure out?
So the first question that he was asking was, what's wrong with being a kid? I mean...
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with being a kid.
I think it's one of those things that, how do you... Sorry. I just read what
I'm hard.
Shout wrote.
Smacks chest like a madman. If I was in school now, my life would have turned out totally different, and I am nor autistic. Yeah.
I think that
they changed standards, and like we said earlier, the whole ADD thing is now apparently just roped in with ADHD, and Asperger's, a mild form of Asperger's. They just said no, that's now just autistic spectrum. They change shit all the time, and they change the learning. And one of the things that I said earlier, like when we were talking with your parents, was I was like, I lived through the Ritalin epidemic of where they didn't know anything and they just threw everyone on fucking Ritalin. And you'd think, being 2018 now, they figure shit out medication-wise and learning and teaching-wise. they should, that they would change the curriculum for whoever it is who's going into early education. They can work with autistic people, or they know what they can do with autistic children, with the processes and shit like that. But it seems like it's almost just a brief chapter in whatever fucking textbook they have, or it's just, if you feel like you should learn it, go ahead. And it's really frustrating and annoying. So yeah, they change a lot of stuff. So school would be a lot different for you if you would go back to school. Or even if you were to go and get diagnosed now, you might have something now. You might not have something if you got diagnosed back in the fucking day. It's a little frustrating and a little hard work, but I mean, we got to figure shit out. But yeah. But going on, what's the matter with a kid being a kid? There's nothing wrong with a kid being a kid, and it seems like a lot of these teachers are, especially at this school, are militant. They want a kid who's gonna fucking like sit down, sit up straight, do your test. Like, yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am, I'm doing my test now, ma'am. And like, shut up, Jimmy. Okay, ma'am.
Yeah, like they're expecting such a high level of work and just work ethic in general and concentration that I swear that they're expecting these kids to be at a middle school level already or higher in elementary school. It's not like they're in, even like, I could see more pressure starting towards that, like starting in like 5th grade or something when they're at the end of those, but pressure. Not this much pressure, like, and especially in second grade.
I'm not saying that they should just let the kids run rampant and run the fucking school and all that shit, but I just think, like, it just really feels like, to me, like when you label a kid like my son special needs, they're like a fucking shivering chihuahua, and then as soon as they get a decibel too loud, they go, oh God, go to the office. God, go 104. Go to 104. Like, no, grow a fucking set of fucking balls. Go over and try to calm down my kid. Go over there and say, hey, let's take a breath. Let's gain our control and of our emotions, and let's think this out before we do something that's gonna land us in 104.
You need that, the redirects to happen. You can't just expect them to be able to self-manage their emotions. I mean, eventually, yes, they need to get to that point where they can manage themselves. But a 7-year-old, and especially a 7-year-old that's got both ADHD and is on the autism spectrum, those things are just something that is really difficult for any kid to regulate in the first place, but especially when any kid on the autism spectrum, it has been proven that a lot of them struggle with social interaction and emotional management. Like, they just, it's really difficult for them to control that. So, and with the social interaction, it's picking up on social cues or understanding that, if I'm in a place, like say I'm at a hospital or in a doctor's office or something and everybody's being quiet, I should probably be quiet while I'm in here. Like, they don't pick up on a lot of those things as easily.
Like, there was a situation where supposedly in the classroom, his teacher said to everyone, okay, if you need a sheet signed, bring it up to me after I count to 3. And she goes, 1, 2. Well, my son was waiting for 3. And if you know somebody who's autistic, they're a real stickler for rules.
You said 3. I didn't hear 3.
Yeah,
so I didn't
hear that 3. I didn't hear that 3, lady. So I'm gonna stay here. Like, autistic kids is like a big long game of Simon Says. If you didn't say Simon Says, shit's not happening. And so he didn't hear 3. Maybe she said 3 really tiny, like a little mouse. Or maybe she didn't say 3 because she was trying to be funny and like 1, 2. Okay, everyone gets that 3's coming then.
Or he just didn't hear her say it.
Either way, he didn't do it. This is the problem, though, is he should have known, and it should have been told to him or taught to him that if you see all your other peers going up to get their sheet signed, regardless of hearing 3, maybe you should also get up and get your sheet signed. And he didn't, and this is the part where I feel like his teacher was being a bit of a bully, because then she's like, no, I'm not signing your sheet. Get in line. We're going to specials class. And he's having a meltdown because he's now having autistic things go on. That's the only way I can describe it. But basically, he's having a meltdown because he knows he's supposed to get the sheet signed, and he knows if he doesn't get it signed, he's going to get in trouble. Mm-hmm. So he's having a meltdown all the way to the specials class, and then he just decides to give up on the meltdown and start to walk into the specials classroom with his peers, and his teacher goes, no, you're with me. And then he goes, why am I not going to specials class? And then she's like, you're going to 104. And so it's like, you then now humiliated my child for walking him all the way to the fucking specials class to attempt to walk in with his peers, only for his peers to see him that you are now taking him out of the specials class, and then you telling him he's going to 104.
Yes.
You are now being a fucking bully and a prick, and you're asserting your authority over my child, and you think it's a fucking funny game, and that's where I get fucking pissed off. Because now I'm pissed off because there's a gym teacher who lacks empathy and is just all around is a fucking soulless person.
She's never been great.
And the teacher now is getting to a point where it feels like she's just tired of dealing with my kid, and she's just now fucking finding it fun to abuse her authority with my kid. And so it pisses me off a lot. And then we hear that the day she goes off to have a half day because she was going to a restaurant with her husband. Like, usually, good employees stay for the full fucking day. But I guess, since you're a teacher and you don't make a whole lot of money, you can have the luxury of going to lunch for fucking whenever you fucking want.
Well, let's just to be clear, they earn that time off, and they deserve time off just as much as anybody else does. So
I do understand that, but when you do shit like that with my kid, I lose the empathy for you. Like, I understand they get less payment. They have to get all the school supplies themselves because nobody provides it for them. All that shit. But then if you turn around and just fucking, send the fucking special needs kids out of the class so you don't have something yelling in the classroom, or you fucking do your whole like power struggle with him in the hallway, then no, I don't give a fuck about you. So, yeah. So now we're at this point where we're waiting for a freaking meeting because we want to say it. We want to verbally throw our hands at them.
Well, and on top of it, we've got winter break coming up here where they have 2 full weeks where they'll be out of school. So they won't even be back in school until January 7th, I think, is when it is. So pretty soon they're going to be off. And I have a feeling that since there's only a Thursday available that they can meet and everything, that it won't happen this Thursday. It's just going to be pushed back.
Yeah, she's going to keep getting pushed. And, I used to think the principal was cool because he used to kind of get down and be his buddy through kindergarten, 1st grade, but now 2nd grade, he's like absent until it's time. Like, he's the dude with the black fucking mask and the goddamn axe waiting to chop him. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's the dude who's gonna do the executioner. He's like fucking, oh no, I'm the executioner. I'm waiting for you to get to the office. And the whatever assistant principal that we see, that we have the meetings with, or whatever her position is, she seemed the first 2 years to be a good asset because she figured things out and worked with him. Now she's just the fucking person who cleans the axe at the end of the fucking day. And his teacher's completely fucking worthless, and his resource teacher is the fucking sheriff of the goddamn jail. And so we're sitting here like it's wit's end, because now it's it's Christmas time, and you're like, you sit here and you're like, your kid comes home and he tells you these horror stories, but you're also like, you also have kind of a behavioral problem. So I don't know where to fucking punish, where on this punish fucking scale do we go? Like, oh no, you came home, you were in resource all day. What do I do? Take your Christmas away? What do I do? Take your TV away? I don't know what to do. And the people that I want to get the other half of the story from, the people that I want to hear them back themselves up, are the ones looking guilty because they're like, oh, well, we can't do it now. We gotta do it over there. We gotta do it after the holidays, okay?
I think it just brings up a bigger conversation that I think we need to have in the United States, definitely. I'm sure in other countries as well. But especially in the United States, from what I've heard, this is not the only story where there's been similar things like this that have happened. It's all over the place. I think that in general, we need to get to the point that, one, we need better training for the teachers that are already in a teaching position. We need, and like by better training, like develop a way to make it so that they can actually understand a little bit of the perspective for the child and what they're dealing with constantly.
I think they need to at least go with some kind of fucking test, some kind of simulation. Like, I know, like, maybe it's a little inhumane to keep a fucking autistic kid like a lab rat, but, or like, you know, have like a fucking, like in the animated movie Monsters Inc. They have like little fucking simulated room with a little robot like pops up in the fucking mattress, you know, like.
Well, or just
have a fucking autistic
you
robot.
Even in with technology that we have, you could even use something like do like
autistic
a VR
AI.
Do like a VR thing that just.
I'm drinking your pop, by the way.
Thank you. That basically stresses you out to the point that somebody with autism would have, or distracts you enough that somebody that has ADHD would have. So that you can see how hard it is for them to actually focus and listen to everything that you're saying. So I think, one, it starts with training the teachers that are currently in the workforce. Two, I think we need to basically extend that training into the classroom for people that are studying to become a teacher of some sort. Any sort of person that deals with any children, even if it's not directly in education, any children. And I think that just as a whole, that every single person should do what they can to understand and be, I guess, tolerant of the different requirements that these children or people, because they're not all, I mean, there's adults that have these problems too. So I think we just all need to be tolerant and understanding.
Adults who are suffering the problems is because they went through something similar like this, you know. They get labeled, they get treated like shit. You know, our kid is suffering education-wise because all the other kids have moved on, and now he's testing in shit he doesn't even know about because you've sent him to jail for so fucking long. You don't want to deal with him. You know, it's like, you need to deal with him. I'm sorry, it sucks. It's awkward, a little emotionally straining, but you need the proper training, and you need to know. Like, that's just it. Like, if you decide to be an early education learning or teacher, you have to accept the job. Just like how every cop out there accepts the situation that they're gonna get hurt, they're gonna get shot at, they're gonna be in a motor vehicle accident. You know, it's just like how every doctor and surgeon has to come to terms with, your patient is going to die, you know? Like, not all the time, but like, it will happen.
There's a chance, and it will happen at some point.
You should come to terms with the fact that you're gonna get an autistic kid who's gonna be loud sometimes.
I think just overall, I know we spent a lot of time on the subject. It's just very personal to us, and very
personal.
And I appreciate you guys listening and being understanding of it.
We're very sorry that we've been using this platform as a vent today, but you guys have been wonderful.
Sometimes you just need that. So thank you guys for letting us vent about that and talk about it. We'll keep you posted on what happens, if anything. So
yeah, we'll definitely let you guys know when we have the meeting.
I think
let's catch up on the chat. What do you think? Hold
on. I was just gonna say, I think the biggest thing that you and I both learned in this last week or two, especially, is not to be as critical of our son as not in a negative way. It's gonna come out wrong when I say this, but like, instead of sitting there and blaming him for doing these things wrong and blaming him for not doing something correctly.
Well, yeah.
And turning it around to, okay, wait a minute. How can I do that? How can I fix it on my side? How can his teacher fix it? How can,
Well, at first you're like, at first you believe it's just him being a complete and total asshole at school. And you're like, why are you doing this? But then you start going, he's telling me
you're losing trust in the educational system and the teachers, and
the way he explains it to you is like you start to realize this isn't just him like randomly popping off. Usually these are reactions to something that's happened, like being bullied or the teacher changing the routine full well knowing that that's gonna fuck him up, or the teacher showing authority, or the gym teacher having a lack of fucking empathy.
I think the eye-opening thing for me, at least, that was kind of my turning point, and realizing just how little that they actually know about kids with these issues, is when I get a phone call saying that I was at work and I get a phone call saying that my son was really escalated, very loud, yelling, he's very mad. He thinks he's going to be suspended. He's super upset about everything. I get a phone call and I can hear him spouting off in the background. And before it was the vice principal, and she's also the head of special education. And she was struggling to find words to explain to me what's going on. And I just cut her off and I just said, hey, let me talk to him. Can I talk to him, please? She puts him on the phone. And I get him on the phone, and within 2 minutes, I was able to calmly talk to him and talk him down. Done. He was fine the rest of that day, had no further issues. And then the vice principal comes back on the phone and is like, oh, wow, I've never seen him calm down that fast. What did you do? I just talked calmly to him, just like any other person would. Just like anybody should in that situation. I just talked calmly and made him take a breath.
And she was
and think it through. And she's head of special education. Yeah. How do you not know that? How?
Yeah.
I don't. That's what I don't get. So I think that was my initial turning point. Among other things,
where you realize that the school has no idea what the fuck.
Where I started placing more value in my son's word than I value the teacher's word, because I don't have any trust with the school at this point.
Because
they haven't shown us anything,
and you feel bad and you feel like guilty because you're like, you look back, you're like, well, you're losing your TV tonight. Well, he needs the TV so he needs something in the background to help him fall asleep. Otherwise, if he's in a dark room, he's in his head.
His mind just
things
races.
Just go 100 miles a minute.
And as anybody that is listening or watching right now, you know that for most people, when you're left alone and you just have just yourself and your thoughts, you can easily go down the rabbit hole pretty quickly. So
yeah.
I think
he goes down the rabbit hole really quick.
Yeah, I mean, it's even as something as simple as like he hears a noise and I wonder what that is. Oh, is it a cat? Maybe one of the cats got into my stuff. Oh, maybe they're ruining my stuff. Oh, maybe like they just keep going.
There's like little people in my closet.
Or
like, you don't know. He goes crazy places, and you feel bad. You feel because you're like, well, I fucking took his shit away, but I didn't really fucking think that it, probably wasn't completely his fault. Probably was they were either misunderstanding him or just completely not working with him at all.
You rethink everything that you've ever gone through.
We suspended Christmas like 2-3 times, and now we're like, do we really have to go to that freaking extreme?
And then one thing, the last final thought on this, and then we'll wrap up this topic and move on to the next.
I want to also catch up on the chat, but yeah.
Yes. One of the last things I will add, I will post the link in the chat here in just a moment, but there was a video that I had saw on Facebook that was talking about neurodiversity. and basically that we should understand that just as we understand that there's diversity in sexual orientation and religion and skin color and everything, that there's all of that, there's tolerance for all of that diversity. Why don't we have as much tolerance for mental diversity? Why do we have to say that everybody that has an issue like that is a problem or there's something wrong with them? Why can't we just say, like, and recognize the benefits? Because there are, I know it's easy to focus on the negatives, but there are actually benefits to things such as autism and ADHD, some of which are talked about in this video. One of the examples is kids with autism are much more successful with like art and music.
Yeah, they turn into the good doctor.
So different things like that. And so that's just one of the plus things. Well, we won't go into everything, but
a lot of like ADHD and autistic kids, you can show somebody who you can consider normal, which I don't think everyone's normal. I think everyone has a little bit of something. But say you got somebody who's normal and you got an autistic kid and you show them the same picture, the autistic kids can point out all the other details, or it's almost like they can see the different shades of color that aren't so prominent to the other normal person or whatever, you know. They see stuff in a different way. So there's your guys' link for that video. Let me catch up here on the chat. I stopped at Cord's really stressed. This sucks. Frustrating. I know if I was in the situation like I was a kid, my dad would come off the battlefield because he served and throw some hands before morning briefing, laugh my ass off, but low-key he was kind of crazy. But man, the situation, it's shit, guys. That blows cock. He's behind because of the fears.
I think you read that perfectly. Like, that blows cock.
Right. Every military member has come to terms with being deployed. Same shit. We love to hear the vent.
When we were talking about, we apologize for venting or using it to vent, so that's where they were responding to that.
Start reading these reports and the incidents, and you realize that it's not always the kid. Yep. The school is failing sadly. Yep. Julie knows her shit.
Damn straight.
Brother gets like super upset and worried and frantic. Like, it's so easy to calm them, but it's not like they're wild Bengal tigers that can't be tamed. Humans, they're fucking humans. Yeah. Any other ordinary is an issue. Oof, I love rabbit holes. Always
that sounds kind of dirty. What? Ooh, I love rabbit holes.
Yeah. Guess.
Sorry.
I guess you can make everything dirty.
Sorry.
I'm a wombat out of hell, so take Cord's phone away. Let's see what's the drama issued. Alright, nobody's fucking normal. Yeah, nobody is fucking normal.
Nope.
I see you typing, you're stealthy. Yeah, Julie's pretty stealthy at the typing. So anyways, that's our situation with the school.
Yes.
It's been plaguing us for a while now, and it's definitely plaguing our son, and it's torturing us, but we just wanted to come on and vent because, one, we didn't really have anyone to vent to other than our parents, and they just kind of like,
well, and the people closest to us hear us vent about it all the time, like the people in person. I don't want to say closest to us, that's kind of insulting you guys, so I'm sorry, but the people that we interact with on a daily basis, they are pretty much used to everything that, like, they're used to hearing us vent about things like that. And so after a while, it just kind of seems like they tune you out a little bit. So it's nice to kind of have somebody else to...
Well, like, venting to my dad is just like venting to, like, a rubber wall. Like, he agrees with you, but then he just starts repeating shit that you just already said. Like, he wants to be a participant in the conversation, but he doesn't know what to say. So he just repeats what you said, like, a while ago. And you're like, I said that earlier. Yeah. So... But yeah, we just wanted to come on here, and we kind of want to see what you guys thought or whatever. So, but let's move on to our next topic.
Shout was asking where Cal and Nix are I need their numbers. These grapefruits never on Discord.
Yeah.
I don't know. We saw them last weekend, but we haven't really chatted with them since. So yeah. I don't know. I don't know what they're doing.
I mean, I'm sure they're fine and doing well. I know
grapefruits.
I know Nick's working on that
MMO.
The game or whatever, and I think I don't know if he's streaming it or I think he streamed it once and then he just stopped streaming. And and it used to be I'd text him before the show and be like, hey, you want to go on? And I'd either wouldn't get anything till it's like time to go on, and I'm like, all right, I guess Julie's going on. So today I didn't bother texting him. I figured he wasn't gonna get on, so Julie is now the co-host until Nixit gets done with his video game or whatever. So but yeah, I think they're doing fine. I can like shoot him a text or something and say to get on Discord for you. Shout. But anyway,
make sure to call him a grapefruit.
Yeah, I'm like, hey, you grapefruits, get on there. Shout wants to talk to you. All right, what's our next topic, Laureline? It's getting hot in here.
It is. Are you stripping?
Maybe I should unbutton my shirt.
Whew, now it's getting really hot in here.
I don't know.
I am going. We've already talked about enough. Not so happy things, so I'm gonna just move on.
You want to throw a happy thing in there?
Just some more happier things.
Okay. The annoying orange is no longer on YouTube. Yes.
What? No, really?
No, I was making that up.
Oh.
I don't know, maybe.
Our son found out about the annoying orange, and he loves the annoying orange.
Did he?
And it is so annoying to me. It drives me nuts. I can't stand it.
He was fun for like a little bit, but then you're like, oh my god, it's the same shit.
I can't. And there's so many different storylines and stuff now. Like, it used to just be super simple and whatever.
I'm sure he's streaming on Twitch.
Probably. I thought that one thing that was just a headline was about Epic Games and Fortnite. So for those of you that play Fortnite out there, that they apparently had pulled their Infinity Blade from the game because it's
the Infinity Blade
overpowered,
which was from Halo, which was a kind of overpowered weapon in Halo. If you did the like jab or whatever just right, it's a one-hit kill. And so if you saw somebody with the Infinity Blade, you're screwed. And so I'm assuming they put the Infinity Blade in Fortnite. Let me see this. Oh, that doesn't look anything like the Infinity Blade from Halo.
It said that the new and controversial Infinity Blade mythic item was removed from Fortnite following widespread criticism over the item's overpowered nature and game-breaking position as a pinnacle late-game weapon. The reversal, while it's not the first time that Epic has changed its course on an unpopular design decision rather quickly, it's notable for the language the developer used to announce it, as well as how much Epic hyped up the item in marketing and promos for the recently released Season 7. Their quote was...
It seems I have mistaken the Infinity Blade with the Energy Blade from Halo.
Oh.
For some reason I thought it was called the Infinity Blade. But it was a little overpowered in Halo, wasn't it? Like, it was one hit. Like, if you did the right move, one hit killed everyone.
What Fortnite had posted was, "Hey ya folks, we messed up and rolled out the Infinity Blade overpowered without good counters, especially in the end game. The Infinity Blade has been vaulted, and we are now reevaluating our approach to mythic items. Thanks for calling us out on this." That's basically like, yep, we know we fucked up. It's horrible. Sorry. It sounds like, now I'm just going to preface this by saying that I do not play Fortnite.
You don't?
I am not a fan of Battle Royales, personally.
Then why is it every time I come downstairs at like 2 o'clock in the morning, I see you on Fortnite? Like, I see it and it says, Battle Royale, #1 winner.
As long as I'm winning, then I guess you can say I play it.
I pwned all those nerds as you're stuffing Cheetos in your mouth.
Ugh. I'm not. Cheetos, no.
You don't like Cheetos?
I mean, they're okay, but they get all over your fingers.
That's the fun part.
No, it's not.
Because then you have cheese-flavored fingers.
No, because then it just gets all over everything, and no matter how much you wash your hands, it's just...
Chow wants to get on the Discord and talk random gaming.
Okay.
You want to get on All right, we'll get the Discord going.
While you're getting the Discord pulled up, we can circle back to that here in just a moment.
Circle back to that here in a moment.
That's my term for the day. We're gonna circle back. This is just a random, just kind of funny short thing.
Oh,
we're coming up on 2019 here, and Blade Runner, the movie, had, I believe it initially started out as a book, or the graphic novel, I should say, which I believe I read the graphic novel. I just can't think of the name of it right now. But Blade Runner was predicting the technology of 2019.
Yeah.
And
do you have your headphones over there?
Hanging.
I will have you grab them real quick.
Everyone's gonna see that I'm wearing sweatpants.
Oh my goodness. I'll get it. Hold on.
No, it's okay. I can't. I really can't. Fine.
Continue with your Blade Runner story.
Anyway, so with Blade Runner, the first thing was being able to do video calling. I mean, that's pretty.
Yeah.
But now we know you're in sweatpants. That's very true, Shout. It's very true. So video calling, of course, we all know that.
So video calling.
The way they had it in Blade Runner though was like phone booths that had video calling rather than like just cell phones with video calling.
Yeah, like payphone,
phone
booths.
Yeah, like they basically just upgraded payphones. They also had love bots in there.
Ooh, love bots?
That Pris, who was the quote basic pleasure model, we're nowhere near a replicant level AI pleasure bot. There's been a proliferation of sex dolls of late, some more controversial than others. And it says, but we won't touch that with a poll for obvious reasons. So we'll leave that where it's at. Digital billboards. I mean, those aren't as exciting. It was kind of a stretch, but they predicted that there would be hover cars.
Oh, what?
Hover cars?
We have hover cars?
In 2019, we don't.
Oh, okay.
They predicted that there would be hover cars. I mean, they've made attempts at making them.
Yeah.
And I believe there's still several that are in development currently. So.
Here's your headphones.
Thank you.
I'm going to throw Shout here into the interview. She doesn't have pants on, sorry. Oh, Mr. Nevermind, you cheeky.
Okay,
I got.
Maybe I do, maybe I don't. You will never know.
Create instant.
What are you doing?
I'm trying to get Shout into the interview room.
You just have to drag him.
I tried that. See?
No, you need to click into. Shout needs to go into whatever the meeting room is. Close out that top part up there.
This thing?
Sorry guys on the stream. No, where it says an adventure begins, let's add some party members. Close out of that. Up. Okay. There's Shout right there in the general voice channel. You gotta drag him down in the interview room.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Shout.
Can everybody?
Hi, how are you?
Here?
We're doing great. Can you can hear him?
Yeah.
I can hear him.
You can. Okay. Good. All right. Shout. Welcome to the show, buddy. How's it going?
Moving. some fun stuff.
Oh yeah, you're moving. You're moving.
Yes, we're moving to Arizona.
Oh, I am very
Yes?
jealous, my friend.
Yes, Arizona.
I want to go to Arizona.
Well, now
Phoenix,
we gotta go
specifically.
visit Shout.
Yes, Phoenix. We want to go to Glendale, which is a suburb of Phoenix.
You know what's funny? I think that's where we're going.
Oh, really?
I think so.
Maybe one day we'll see you there.
Court's got family out there too.
I know it started with a G, something like that. So.
Oh yeah, that's great.
That sounds. It started with a G. Sounds right.
So you say you've got some game news you want to talk about?
Yes. First off, it is not an energy sword from Halo. I just gotta pull that out, right?
It's not the energy sword? Or
the infinity sword, no. Oh. It's the energy sword, not whatever it was. I'm a Halo nerd, sorry, I got real butthurt on that one.
I felt it through the chat.
Yeah.
You're like, you mean the energy sword?
Yeah, you could feel the emphasis on it. I was like, hold up.
Yeah,
this ain't right.
I definitely caught on to that.
Yes. Secondly, I don't play Fortnite, but I didn't even know they added the Infinity Sword. That was even overpowered. I guess that was added for a day and then got taken out.
Yeah, it was a real quick turnaround time.
Well, yeah, because wasn't there only one on the map too, and it was in one spot every single time?
Yeah.
Ooh.
I think they made it like short because they got the award from, what was it, the joysticks award or something?
The golden joysticks, wasn't it?
Yeah. And so they turned around and were like, "Oh, hey, let's make a super cool, awesome sword that kills people. One hit, one win."
Yeah. He's too loud. I am actually fucking loud in general, but other than that, everyone's hyped for Anthem, you know? And like, you guys seen anything on Anthem recently?
No, I haven't seen anything recently on Anthem.
Everyone's, hyped about it. There's been some gameplay. I think they just did a closed technical alpha, but it's under NDA or whatever it is, so nobody can talk about it even if they did play.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So,
but
when you get that situation where you got people testing the game but they can't talk about it, are those people being paid to test the game?
No, they are not. They're just being picked.
Just randomly picked?
Yeah, you just sign up and they get randomly picked. They don't want you to talk about it because I don't really know, to be honest with you. I never really understood NDAs, but
because I found it it was interesting with Fallout 76 when they did they had a bunch of people play it, but they're like, you guys can't say anything bad about it. But I was like, well, if you can tell me what I can and can't say, you are obviously going to pay me, right?
Yeah, but apparently, no, I don't think, because my brother was in it. He said he got into it, and he was not paid, obviously. But other than that, there's a lot of people that are very skeptical of it, I guess, because you know how these games go. These are loot shooters, okay? You're gonna blow through the early game within a week.
Yeah.
So then all that's left is endgame. People are skeptical because they don't know if endgame's going to be good. One, because that's got to be good. If it's not, we're going to have a Destiny 2 on our hands, and nobody wants that.
You're right.
And the other thing is, I think EA is helping create this one.
Oh God, EA.
Yeah.
So everyone's like, "Fuck."
Who fucking shit the bed on that one? Jesus.
Yeah. Who thought this was a good idea?
When I'm looking at their Twitter, for Anthem, it shows on there that BioWare and EA are the ones developing.
BioWare and EA.
Yeah.
BioWare is great because BioWare is really good at story.
Yeah.
So that means that Anthem's gonna have a decent story.
Hopefully.
But then I see EA, and
they're like,
all hope is lost.
It'd be really funny if we found out EA was in charge of Endgame.
Oh, I bet you they are. Guaranteed.
Yeah.
I bet you, if anything, BioWare is just there for the story. But all the multiplayer aspects, the end game, the loot, and all that, that's definitely EA. EA's over there like, oh boy, how can we screw them over this time, guys? Welcome to the board meeting.
Well, first,
I have an idea. Right?
An Origin account.
We sell all the arbor upgrades and loot boxes.
Yeah. We sell the boss killing weapons and loot boxes.
Yeah. And the bosses, guys, they drop common gear. Okay. That legendary shit, loot box it.
Yeah. Shit you got in the beginning of the game that's like now useless. That's what they drop. Yep. That's
you know what Fortnite did? The Infinity Sword? We're gonna throw that shit in the loot box in this game too. We're gonna rip that into here. One hits bosses all day long. Every raid, easy peasy.
You know the Infinity Blade? Only the bosses have the Infinity Blade.
You know, it's even worse. So they're like, get the Infinity Blade now with your $200 deluxe pre-order.
Yeah, through Origin.
They're definitely, they have tons of packages as well that if you pre-order, depending on how much you pre-order for.
I mean, it looks it looks really good.
It does.
Yeah, I personally, I think I would like that game. I just haven't really been paying attention lately. So
I've been looking at it and I'm like, yes, this looks like the game, boys. This is 2019 opening up big. And then I saw EA and I was like, oh.
Did you read an article or did you watch like a trailer and then at the end EA flashed up?
I watched the trailer and I was like, oh boy. And then EA's logo shows up and I'm like, oh no. This ain't it, boys.
This is a pretty looking turd.
Yeah. This is a shiny trash can.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's interesting. I guess I won't get it. I'll wait to hear things about it.
I'm gonna wait for reviews. Yeah.
It's kind of how I am. But I mean, it does look really good.
Like legendary armor packs and stuff, and legendary armor pack and weapon, legendary gear attachment.
Oh, so these are all the packages?
Yeah.
So like you can buy legendary shit right off the bat?
Yeah.
That kind of takes the fun out of it.
Work for things in a video game? You don't do that anymore.
Yeah, you already work hard enough at your job.
Yeah. Give me money and I'll give you power. That's how that works.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So
you already got to give me $60 for the game. Give me another 20 and I'll give you that legendary helmet, boyo.
I can just imagine like they're like a drug dealer in an alley.
Like, you need that. You really need that armor.
Yeah, I got heroin for $60, but do you want super heroin for $20 more?
I got that shiny armor you've been grinding 6 weeks for, but if you give me $20 now, I'll make it deluxe. Ooh, and I'll throw in a free paint for another $5.
Or you can have that default shit.
You don't want that default shit, right? You gotta show your ex-girlfriend who's boss.
Oh yeah. So you have any other gaming news?
PC players are pissed at Black Ops 4, but that's nothing new.
What they do now?
Wasn't there like
what they do now exactly?
There was some drama with Battlefield, wasn't there? Like some more drama?
Good lord. Battlefield sank like the Titanic this year. It was bad. Oh yeah, the sales are they're not good, Chief. This ain't it.
Didn't get because they just like recently came out, right? Like
Battlefield 5. Is that what the new one is?
Yeah.
5? Yeah. Came out. It already has less than half the sales of Battlefield 1. Okay.
Yeah.
Also, the game is literally missing 50% of content.
How is it?
Customization for vehicles ripped out. Like 3 different game modes ripped out.
So it's just like bare bones, basically.
Yeah, it's an early access title. But it's priced at $60.
They had all this time. They've been hyping it all this time. They even let Battlefield come out like way before it came out, and then they're just like, "Here's what we got. It's just bones."
You know what I think it is, though? I think it's not DICE. I think that DICE makes great Battlefield games, but I think the problem is if you've noticed, they didn't used to make a Battlefield every year. They just started doing this.
Yeah,
before it would take about 3 years to get a new Battlefield. So what I think is happening is, isn't EA in charge of DICE now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think EA is like whipping them to get a game out every year, and that's what's happening.
They're like slave driving them.
Yeah, and like, so basically what's happening
is
they're releasing, they're releasing a game every year, but their company can't release a quality game every year. Right. So they're giving us, what they got.
When EA's involved, when are they ever releasing a quality game?
I mean, I get.
Ooh, true.
I mean,
big facts. I mean,
they used to stick to like historical battles, right? Historical wars.
Now you've got female black Nazis, and you're just kind of like, wait a minute, Chief, this ain't it. Hold on.
Yeah, they like ran out of historical shit. So like, let's make female black Nazis who are amputees, and somehow they can use weapons.
Yes, exactly. Dude, the trailer made me so like confused when I saw the British chick with the bolt action, but had like a prosthetic arm and leg, and I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah, and it wasn't. It was just a hook, right? It wasn't like a hand or anything.
Yeah, it was a hook, but she was still using the firearm. I'm just kind of like,
I'm like, how is this working? You guys making shit up now?
You had you had mentioned about how PC gamers are pissed at Black Ops.
Yes.
It looks like it's because of the update time.
This year, they said the PC would be their priority for Black Ops, or COD in general, because every year COD has come out as a port. All right, it's just been a port and doesn't get any attention after that. Mm-hmm. So this year they wanted Black Ops 4 to actually be PC supported, get some, the same, content and all this other stuff like console does. Now they're doing one thing right that I can say is that they're balancing stuff differently on PC than they are console. Because some guns on PC are stronger in the hands of players on a PC than they are on a console, because PC players have better aim, they have better use of mechanics than console. Mm-hmm. Just because controller and keyboard, you know what I mean?
Right.
So the balancing is different. So like, let's say the Augur DMR, that got balanced on PC because it was a 2-shot kill and people with good aim could just rock your world in seconds. I mean, you didn't even get to blink, okay? But on console, it may not have been nerfed due to the fact that, it's not as good because people aren't able to get those shots off as easy as PC players.
Right.
Stuff like that. But anyway, here's where the people are upset about is the fact that the new operations coming out, they're doing operations a lot like Siege did. So every operation, they're going to have a new shit coming with it. So currently, we're on Operation First Strike, and the next one is Operation Zero, I believe. Now, Operation Zero is already out for PS4 and Xbox, I believe. PC isn't getting it for another few days. Like, it's already been a week, I think.
Oh, really?
So people are a little annoyed at the fact that, like, this content is here, but it's not here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make, like, any sense to anybody.
They'll probably push it back again, too.
Probably. And I don't know what the reasoning for it is. Obviously, the content is there. I don't know why it's not everywhere. Why is it? I know like PS4 is going to get content early just because they are partnered with Sony.
Yeah.
For the competitive scene as well and all that. But like, you can't tell us you're going to make PC a priority and then not make us a priority.
Well, it sounds like the newest update finally went live on PC yesterday.
Yes and no.
Oh, okay.
They gave us half of it.
I gotcha.
So they gave us the winter stuff, but the strike isn't there. So you know how they have the Fortnite system now with the tier system?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, we're still on tier. Our tier system is still First Strike. It's not Operation Zero. However, the Operation Zero guns and I think some of the camos and the crates are in the game. But you can only get the guns in Blackout, not multiplayer yet, until obviously the contraband switches over to Operation Zero.
And according to, I just was researching some of it a little bit, and it looks the reason why it's taking longer is just because PCs are much easier to, when you do an update or whatever, there's so many more bugs that could potentially pop up.
I guess that is fair.
They have to test it more thoroughly and catch, because there's more chances for bugs on the PC than there is on the console. So I mean, I get that, but if you know that, then maybe you should start a little sooner on the PC stuff.
Well, yeah, especially if you say that PCs
or just not announce the strike until it's ready for all 3
Right.
platforms, and then announce it.
It does
Don't do
say
what EA
Treyarch
did.
did announce that they're always going to target a release window within 24 hours of a console patch to complete the PC patch. So whether or not that actually happens, we'll find out. But so far, not so good.
So far, it's not looking hot,
So, it's not any like new news here that I'm not really a PC gamer.
Right.
What?
But that was because the PC we started out with was really shitty.
Yeah.
And now I got this I got a really nice PC, but I'm now realizing that I'm just letting it kind of I only use it for the podcast. That's all I do. So
the only other thing that I've read up on is the people who made Ark are creating a new game.
Oh yeah.
It's on PC. I don't know if it's coming to console. I don't have any idea. But it's going to be it's called Atlas. They basically said that they took all the good shit from Ark, so taming, building your own bases, all this stuff, and they're gonna throw it all into this open world 40,000 player plus game. So it's a super server, but everything is separated in mini servers so that it doesn't lag your computer.
Okay.
But 40,000 simultaneous players set in a pirate universe. So pirate ships, islands, but there's also dragons and elementals and magic.
All right.
It's gonna be interesting to say the least.
Is it supposed to be like a whole random world, or is it supposed to be based off of Earth?
I'm not sure on that. I think they're gonna create the whole world themselves, so it's not gonna be based off Earth. I don't really know. Maybe.
I kind of get the feeling maybe I have PTSD, but I'm getting a No Man's Sky kind of vibe.
Oh, I'm waiting for it, but I'm waiting for No Man's Seas to show up, but
they're like, there's gonna be 40,000 plus people, but you won't see a soul.
I'm just hoping it doesn't pull a Sea of Thieves on us, because Sea of Thieves was. Ooh. We kind of slid that under the rug. We don't talk about that.
we all just ignore it together.
Pretty much, because that was literally the definition of No Man's Sea. Okay, that was bad. But apparently, this game is actually supposed to release in early access in 2 days. I think, the 19th or some shit.
Oh yeah, do you know the developers?
The developers are Grapeshot Games and Instinct Games, and I believe didn't one of those also help make Ark? One of these companies, yeah.
I think
Instinct. Yeah, Instinct Games created Ark, or not created, but developed it.
Yeah.
Essentially. So.
In 2 days.
Hopefully.
I'll have to keep my eye out on that.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of I have a bunch of people who are gonna get into it when it comes out, but at the same time, it's early access. I want to, but if I remember my experience with Ark early access, frame rate was not pretty.
Yeah, that's true.
By the least, and that's just the game. We're not even talking putting players in yet, and you're telling me you're gonna have 40,000 of these fuckers. Especially since it's early access, they're all gonna start in the same spot. No one's gone anywhere yet.
Unless it's No Man's Sky, and then they're all just random.
And you all get thrown random places, maybe. Because if 40,000 people start in one spot, that might be a problem.
Yeah.
Good luck getting those first few quests done of killing 10 sheep, because there won't be any sheep. All you'll see is people and hear those faint cries of when they die.
That would suck, actually.
I think some computers would honestly just break, as soon as they loaded in.
Or just the game would fucking break.
Or the game would freeze completely. Yeah.
And there you go. That's the game.
That's the game.
Anything else? Anything
Thanks
else?
for playing.
Game news for us?
Let's see what other game news has come out. Oh, apparently the Rainbow Six Siege tournaments are about to start or something.
Oh yeah,
tournaments for Rainbow Six Siege.
Where are they holding those?
Do
you know?
Where are they holding them?
Probably
me
not,
look.
Definitely not in Florida.
Let me see here. I gotta find it because I saw it on Twitter. So Twitter, where I get all my info.
Seriously.
Oh, here it is.
Give them your birth date.
The stage is set in Rio, Vegas. And is ready for the start of the U.S. Nationals. So it's the USA tournament.
Nice.
Yeah. I don't play Siege much, but Siege is cool.
Yeah, I like watching it.
I like watching it. I tried to get into it, I did, but there's just something that makes me upset when somebody shoots me through a 1x1 pixel. It hits me in the forehead and I just die in 5 seconds, and I'm like, oh, all right. So I can't see anything because the pixel's too small, but their vision, they can see everything, know. And I'm sitting here, right, and I'm in a corner, I'm waiting for someone to push into a room, and then the guy's like, I can smell him, and he just turns and blasts me through a wall, and I'm like, all right.
Yeah. And they're like, I'm done with this game.
Yeah, I tried, man. I really did. But I just can't do it.
So, before we let you go, where are we on the Dungeons and Dragons?
Yes. Currently, a buddy of mine we're gonna have 5 players.
Okay.
If Cal and Nix are alive, I don't know.
Those grapefruits.
If the grapefruits are plump and ready to go, maybe
grapefruits.
Yeah. So currently, we would have Cal, Nix, you, and Loreline, and then my buddy Beeps, who will play with us.
Okay.
I don't quite know how I want to set the story yet. I don't know.
We said it was going to be sci-fi?
Yes, it's going to be sci-fi, and I already have the book that we're going to use, which is Fifth Age, I believe, which is a sci-fi 5th edition D&D pretty much.
Okay.
So expect synthetic life forms like C-3PO and R2-D2, cyborgs, and then just straight up aliens.
That also means we could be something like that too, right?
You also can create your own alien race if you entirely want to, because it is
awesome.
It is space, so the chances of these alien races being a thing is definitely there. Now, so I'm just saying, though, you cannot be Predator or Xenomorph, all right? I already know some of you are going to try. Okay.
Like this one right here. Right here? Yeah.
Yeah. He sends me a webpage of like a Xenomorph. I'm like, no. He's like, but you said anything. And I'm like, yes, but use your imagination. All right. Somebody's going to try being a Super Saiyan from Dragon Ball Z. I'm waiting for it.
Yeah.
Either you or Nick would try.
Probably Nick.
He's gonna come out of here and be like, "I'm gonna be a Super Saiyan."
Yeah.
He just walks up and Kamehamehas people. That's the entire game.
It's like, I want to do a spirit bomb.
Yeah, I'm gonna spirit bomb the area.
What do you?
I have mine in mind, and I'm not gonna share it with you because it's really good.
All right, well, keep us posted. Might even do the character.
Yeah, can you send us the info like when you get a chance? We can do the character build.
Yeah, the book.
Yeah.
With the information.
I don't know what all I need to do, so I'm counting on Cord to walk me through all of that.
Oh, I can always walk through with you in character creation. I've done it countless times, actually.
Awesome.
Every time I've played D&D, I've always played with people that are new to the game, so I've had to teach like 40 plus people by now.
Gotcha.
So it doesn't really bother me.
You're the expert at it now?
Pretty much, yeah. And I even would remember rules that I didn't used to know. So, you learn something new every day.
Yeah. All right.
Like there's 3 different types of dwarfs. I didn't even know that.
Really?
What you're gonna say?
In 5th edition there is. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
There's like mountain and hill dwarfs, and I'm like, I didn't even know there were 2 different types. I thought dwarfs were just kind of dwarfs, but all right.
Yeah, I wanted to just chat really quick about last week. We had mentioned that we were considering a new day to stream. So I think that we're gonna try out Thursday nights for a while to see how that goes for the podcast. See how that goes with that.
Does that work for you?
Hopefully.
So?
Yeah.
You think you could watch us on a Thursday at 6 p.m. Central Time?
I don't have a life.
That's what we like to hear. Yeah, so I think we're going to start doing Thursdays going forward.
Thursdays at 6. You guys, we got this beautiful new layout and logo. Let us know what you think. What do you think of
the logo? Is pretty wetter than a watermelon, all right? Not gonna lie.
What the fuck does that mean? Wetter than a watermelon? Does that mean, is that good?
Wetter than a watermelon and moister than an oyster, okay?
Yes, it's
all
good. Yeah.
Good.
You're getting too old if you don't understand what he's saying.
I am getting too old. You gotta say it to me as if it was like in Red Dead Redemption 2.
Oh god. That's all. He seriously, he talks with an accent everywhere he goes. And he talks to everybody like he's in the game.
Every animal I go up to now, I'm like, "You're all right, girl," and I pat it. Like we were at her parents' house and they have a dog, and I kept going, "You're all right, girl. You did good, girl."
she was like, so excited.
Shut up.
Yeah. So that means that we probably are we gonna do another show on this Thursday then, or are we gonna start next week?
No, because of we're gonna go ahead and just take this Thursday off because it's too close to the holiday.
Getting ready for the holiday. So that means on Sunday the 23rd there won't be a show then. We'll have a show next on Thursday the 27th. So
Thursday the 27th. Then
just
between
so you
Christmas
guys
and
know,
New Year's, right?
Yes. And then D&D or whatever, depending on when that gets started, maybe either Friday or Saturday night for that would work, maybe, possibly, depending on everyone's schedule. So
I know me and Beeps have no lives, so we can do pretty much any day.
I know we usually try to leave Sundays kind of for like a family day.
Well, that's what
Cal and Nick's also said too. Yeah,
that's the idea. Well, because I work overnights and I work overnight Friday night, which takes out my Saturday morning, and then I sleep all Saturday because I worked overnight, and then I have Sunday, but then the podcast takes a pretty good chunk of the day out, and it's inconveniently placed in the day where you can't do anything with anybody.
Yeah. You spend the morning getting ready for the podcast, and you spend the afternoon doing the podcast and doing the podcast.
Yeah, and then getting everything aligned to go on all the platforms.
Yes.
So we just decided that we're gonna go ahead and try to make more room for our weekend for us, and we'll move the podcast to Thursday at 6. And I just hope Nick is okay with that idea because he's not here to help me with that decision. So I'm sure he will be. I think he's just working on the game and just
normal life, whatever. So no big deal.
Yeah.
But we'll definitely get on. I'll definitely like text him and say, hey, you grapefruits better get on Discord and talk to Shout over here because he's wondering what the fuck's happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
But other than that, so that we got a new day, got the new look. What else we were gonna mention? Was that it?
That
was like an asshole.
Pretty much. That was pretty much it.
You let me look like an asshole over here.
That's not hard to do.
You're supposed to. You look like an asshole all the time.
Well, potato.
Thank you.
Tomato.
Yes, exactly. All right. We could wrap it up on a funny
data.
A funny note.
A funny note.
What's that?
something that you and I quote and reference to each other all the time because
Are you trying to like squeeze the chonker?
Yes. Yes.
Let's do it.
I
Can
wanted
you put
to
the image, link the image
I
in the
will
chat?
link the image. I already prepared myself. Check out the chat. There's a link. This is so random, but I find it so hilarious. It is a chonk chart for cats that shows you how chonky or how fat they are. And it starts out from
3 cats.
A fine boy to he chonk to a heckin' chonker to a hefty chonk to a mega chonker to a oh lord he coming.
We have 3 cats and
two of them are a fine boy.
No, one of them's a fine boy. One's like he chonk.
Okay.
But then we have the one who's an orange tabby. He's like the perfect fucking Garfield.
Mm-hmm.
He looks like fucking Garfield from the Sunday comics. He's in between Heckin' Chonker and
Hefty Chonk.
Hefty Chonker. So I always go, there's that Heckin' Chonker.
And then I always respond, oh Lord, he coming.
Yeah. And,
so.
Yeah.
Sorry,
welcome to this cringy moment.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's really cheesy, but I love any animal, but especially kitty cats.
Well, I've got some great news for you guys, and I'll briefly say it, and then we'll go on the outro. We have successfully made it to almost 2 hours now.
Wow.
We are half a minute away from 2 hours. Usually we end it before 2 hours. We promise to give you 2 hours. Usually, as of lately, we haven't been getting to 2 hours, but today we're going to get to 2 hours.
We're going to do it. It's going to be tough. It's going to be hard, but we're going to do it. To answer Mr. Nevermind, the animation, you hadn't found anybody yet, I don't think.
I went on to Fiverr, and they were like asking outrageous prices for like a minute to 2 minutes. And then they also were like, I'm gonna make it the way I want to make it. So, and I'm like, well, then I don't want to pay you. Yeah. So now I'm at the process of figuring out how to do it myself.
Uh-oh.
Which is gonna be cringy as fuck, but I'll make it work. I'm think we might have to make another change to the song we made, Mr. Nevermind, because we have another co-host, so we might have to throw in Loreline somewhere in the song. So
or just take the name out of it for now, given I don't know, and just list your beautiful names.
I can't get over the cat me.
Right? See?
I just always keep reading, oh Lord, he coming. I'm done.
Alright. Shout, thank you. Hold on, where the fuck's my mouse? Okay, Shout, thanks for coming on to the show.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
You're
Thank
always
you,
welcome.
Mr. Nevermind.
Everyone's welcome to guest here in the Discord. Shout, thanks for providing material for us. And bringing this downer of an episode on an upper note.
And thanks to, I don't know if
absolutely shitstorming on EA. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So we're going to go ahead and end the call here, and I'm going to end the podcast. So I hope you have a beautiful day, Shout.
Yeah, I'd be like one of your French girls. Damn
it. You knew what this was.
You put me down like a dog.
You just did like the 3 packs a day smoker voice.
No, I didn't. You know what this was. That's the 3 pack a day. Anyways, thanks, Shout, for being here. I'm going to end the call now.
Yep.
Yeah, thanks,
bye. And everyone else, thank you for being here at the podcast, the Nevermind podcast, the animation. I can do that. Done. There's the social for you there in the chat. Everyone, have a beautiful day. Don't forget to hit the merchandise we got on Teespring. Maybe by the next episode, not making any promises, but maybe I might have a Musty mug. If Julie doesn't pay attention when I buy it off my phone here in a second. Everyone else, go to the merchandise. We got beautiful shirts. There's still the old logo. We'll update them. But if you want a piece of history, get yourself a shirt now. Everyone else, have a beautiful day. Bye.
Bye, guys. Thanks.
You're
Today, we're talking about Mars. We're talking about Mars. Wow. And he's like, ah! I shouldn't do that. I could have gone more, but I'm just going to end it there.
That's pretty good. I'm just going to say something that might piss off a lot of people.
Yeah.
I feel like the pork tastes just like the chicken.